Hello there. Welcome to the Saroy channel wherever you are in the world. And so much love to each and every one of you. How are you doing? I'm doing great, thank you very much. And what a fabulous story we're listening to tonight. We have a young man who is selling his mother's cakes at the farmer's market. And he has just been approached by a young man who is wanting to buy a carrot cake for his mother's birthday. And the one thing that Maxwell has noticed about this young man is around his neck, he's wearing this most incredibly unusual piece of jewelry, a leather thong with an eagle's feather attached to it, an unusual gemstone, which is of a turquoise colour with golden fragments in it, and he's never seen anything like that in his life, and he's never been one for men's jewelry or anything like that, but this piece of jewelry has stolen his awareness, and he really likes it. So we're going to find out where the story is taking us, but I've got a feeling that that's a piece of Bigfoot jewelry. So let's continue with part 2 of our story tonight. Maxwell handed over the carrot cake to the customer, who appeared to be feeling around in his back pockets for his wallet. "That necklace of yours," said Maxwell. "I've never seen anything like it. It's really cool, very macho looking. I really do like the leather thong and the eagle's feather. And I've never seen a gemstone quite like that. The turquoise with a gold glitter in it. It's very unusual." "Thanks," said the young man, who was looking extremely distracted, as he patted his back pockets, looking slightly alarmed. "My wallet," he said. "I can't find my wallet. Where on earth is it? I paid for a necklace over at that stand from my mother. And then I put my wallet in my back pocket. I distinctly remember doing it. But it's gone." His face suddenly paled. Maxwell looked at the young man sympathetically. "I don't know how to tell you this. There's been a lot of pickpocketing at this farmer's market. People like you claim that their wallets just magically disappear. I don't know if you've noticed the sign up, but it's warning people to keep close tabs on their wallets and purses because of pickpocketers. We never had a problem before, until recently." "You're kidding, right? Pickpocketers at a farmer's market? That's insane," said the young man, looking somewhat bemused and rather taken aback by this revelation. "I'm afraid so," said Maxwell. "I'm awfully sorry about your missing wallet. It's not good when things like that disappear. It's a bummer. The police, I'm afraid, haven't been able to catch the culprits concerned. They believe it's a man and a woman working together, but they're always in disguise, so they can't be easily recognized. After you brought the necklace, were you approached by a woman, by any chance?" "Yes, as it happens, a woman did stop me. She was telling me about one of the stands at the market that I should visit. I was polite to her, and while I was talking to her, someone bumped into me from behind and apologized profusely. That must have been when they slipped their hands into my back pocket and very clandestinely stole my wallet. I'm such an idiot. I should have realized what was going on." "Don't blame yourself," said Maxwell. "That's how they cunningly work together. They're a very shrewd team. One of the perpetrators distracts you while the other one sneakily grabs your purse or wallet. And if yours was in the back pocket, I'm afraid to say, it made for easy pickings. What the hell am I going to do? It's so typical when something like this happens at the most inconvenient of times. I need to get this carrot cake for my mother. She really wants it for her birthday, and I promised I'd get it for her. But I have no money, and I have a guitar lesson in half an hour. What am I supposed to do?" "Well, I'm willing to barter for the cake," said Maxwell. "Barter? What's that supposed to mean?" asked the young man. "When you say barter, you want me to exchange something with you? But I've got nothing to exchange, if that's what you're saying." Maxwell's eyes were now fixed on the young man's necklace. "Well, you could give me your necklace in exchange for the carrot cake. It might be worth a lot more than the carrot cake, though. It does look rather special." "Oh, this," said the young man casually, looking down at his necklace with a fondness in his eyes. "You like it?" "If the truth be told, I'm not really into jewellery for men. Never have been. I've always regarded it as slightly naff. But what you're wearing is the exception to the rule. It's the coolest thing I ever saw. like something an Indian warrior would wear. It's incredibly macho and very striking. You wouldn't think of parting with it, would you? I could give you a voucher for 2 more carrot cakes for your mother if you like. You can't say fairer than that. Have we got a deal?" The young man looked somewhat hesitant for a while, as if he was having an internal tug-of-war going on in his head. But he was being offered a carrot cake along with 2 extra cake vouchers, where his mother could buy 2 more carrot cakes. And if he gave this to her, she'd be over the moon. This was an extremely tempting offer. "You wouldn't believe where I got this necklace from. I was camping in a camping ground in the Pacific Northwest. A place called Misty Hills Camping Ground. It's a private camping ground. Not many people know about it. Absolutely beautiful. Quite remote. I was taking a walking path through the trees one day with one of my friends, and lo and behold, we discovered the necklace lying on the ground. Someone must have accidentally dropped it. I did, of course, think of leaving it where I found it. But my friend Robin, who was with me at the time on our intrepid adventure, said I should keep it, because whoever dropped it would likely never be able to find it again. So that is why I decided to do so. It cost me nothing. But you aren't the first who's asked me if they could acquire it. For some reason, everybody wants it. I can understand why so many people want it. And why you probably don't want to part with it," said Maxwell, unable to disguise the obvious disappointment in his voice. When he'd seen the young man wearing the necklace, he had been drawn to it like a magpie is drawn to a shiny, sparkling piece of jewellery. In the past, Maxwell would never have had the balls to engage in such an unlikely exchange, but he really believed if you didn't ask for something, you probably wouldn't get it. So even if the young man wouldn't part with his necklace, there was no harm done. "Look, I'm sorry you've had a run of bad luck this morning. I mean, being pickpocketed like that. That's not nice. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you the cake, providing you drop the money, at my stand next week. It's no big deal." "You would do that for me?" asked the young man. "That's awfully kind of you. Well, you said your mother loves carrot cake, and it is her birthday. She's obviously going to be a good customer of ours in the future, and we like to keep our customers happy. So of course I can do that for you. I'm delighted to help you in any way I can. It's called good customer service." "Look," said the young man, "I certainly appreciate your faith in me, and that you trust me to pay you back next week. But I'll take you up on your deal after all. You can have the necklace for 1 carrot cake and 2 vouchers for 2 more cakes. I think, as you say, it is a fair, reasonable deal. And I never paid for this necklace anyway. I simply found it. So I'm the one that's gaining more than you are. But are you sure you really want to part with this necklace of yours? It is rather special," said Maxwell, his face lighting up like a Christmas tree. "I am willing to part with it," said the young man, handing him the necklace, which Maxwell took from him with a racing heart. He couldn't quite believe he had succeeded on this deal, and he really, really liked this necklace, and couldn't wait to put it on. He was sure it was the kind of necklace an Indian warrior would wear, and he'd always had a thing for Indian warriors. "Yeah, I think I'm sure," said the man again. "As we were saying, a deal is a deal. And I've never bartered before, so this is a first for me. By the way, my name is Killarney Cropper, although most people call me Killen." "It's very good to meet you, Killen," said Maxwell with a bright grin. "By the way, my name is Maxwell." He handed Killen the carrot cake, along with the 2 cake vouchers. "I'm very sorry about your wallet being snatched like that. It's most unfortunate. I do hope they'll finally catch those culprits who are pickpocketing so many people at the farmer's market." "Well, it's no biggie," said the young man. "I only had a little cash in there. So let's just say whoever pickpocketed me, good luck to them, because they ain't going to get rich on the slim pickings in that wallet of mine. This time they picked the wrong mark." "Well, you are wearing expensive sneakers, aren't you?" said Maxwell, looking down at Killen's sneakers. "So I wouldn't be surprised if they assumed you were wealthy." "Oh, these," said Killen rather dismissively. They're a gift from my uncle. Let's just say he's not short of a bob or two, and all the presents he gets me are extremely trendy. I'd never spend a fortune on sneakers myself, but my uncle is generous like that, so he does buy me some pretty cool stuff, the kind of stuff that most people our age like. None of it that comes cheap. It gives so many folk the wrong impression. They think I'm loaded, when nothing could be further from the truth. To tell you the truth, my parents never give me pocket money. I make my own money by working hard and doing odd jobs for people. Well, I'm the same, admitted Maxwell. That's how I make my money. My parents aren't struggling, of course. My father earns a relatively good income, but they never give me a penny. They believe I should be resourcefully independent by making my own money, which is why I work for my mother at this cake stand. Do you work here every weekend? Yes, I'm here every Saturday. I help my mother, but kudos to her. Let's just say she pays me extremely well to help her out like this, so it's very much worth my while. Well, I'm glad to hear it. It sounds to me as if your mother's quite the cook. She makes the most amazing cakes I can see. Pretty much. You're lucky to have a mother who can cook, said Killen, unable to hide the look of envy on his face. My mother is a dreadful baker in that regard. Everything she makes flops. She's always bought her cakes from people like your mother, who really know how to bake. She passes them off as her own. 2 of her friends have already asked her for your mother's recipe for carrot cake, because they believe my mother baked it. She's rather sneaky like that. She won't come clean to her friends about what a useless baker she actually is. Every time, let me tell you, she attempts to follow a recipe, she just can't seem to get it right. As I was saying, most of her cakes tend to flop, and she has a penchant for burning things all the time. I can't tell you the amount of times I've walked into the house and seen the kitchen practically on fire. It was hilarious last week when she invited a couple around for dinner and made out the curry she was serving them she cooked herself. And as she was plating it up for them, the top of the carton of the takeaway container came up into the sauce, and the couple saw it. They didn't say anything because they were far too polite, but my guess is they pretty much knew that my mother had not made that curry. Maxwell chuckled. That's hilarious. I don't know why your mother doesn't come clean and admit she can't bake. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And if she orders takeout, all well and good. I'm sure her guests wouldn't have minded. I'm sure they only care about the social interaction anyway. I don't know, said Killen. My mother believes people appreciate it when you make the effort to cook for them. It makes them feel special. So she doesn't think she's harming anyone when she claims she cooked the meal from scratch herself, like she tried to do with your mother's carrot cake. But her friends believe that she did bake it, when, of course, nothing could be further from the truth. Don't worry about that. A lot of people tell my mother they pass her cakes off as their own, Maxwell admitted. They invite people around to their houses and claim that they've been baking all morning. So your mother's not alone in her little deception. I think people can be too proud to admit they're no good in the kitchen, but I don't think it's anything to be remotely embarrassed about. I couldn't cook like my mother if you paid me to. So even though I really would like to be the male equivalent of Gordon Ramsay or Jamie Oliver, so to speak, I know that ain't going to happen. Mind you, even if I say so myself, I'm pretty good with our barbecue at home. But then again, there isn't a great deal of skill in flipping around burgers or hot dogs on a grill, is there? I'm not bad with a barbecue either, admitted Killen. But like you, I can't cook to save my life. Although I would actually like to learn, because I think women like men who can cook. It's a skill worth acquiring, let me tell you, especially if you want to eat well and eat healthy. You're not wrong about that, Maxwell admitted with a grin. He couldn't help but warm to Killen, as he was such a likeable young man, and maybe in another lifetime they would have been friends, he thought. Please give your mother my regards. Wish her a happy birthday, said Maxwell. And thanks again for the necklace, Killen. Are you sure you don't mind parting with it? I think it's a bit too late to change my mind about the necklace, don't you? I can see you're already very beguiled by it. I've never bartered for anything before in my life, so it was cool to make a deal without money. I've done rather well today, I think, apart from losing my wallet, of course, which was rather unfortunate. But my mother is going to love the necklace I bought her from that store over there, and she's going to be absolutely thrilled with this carrot cake and the vouchers," said Killen. "I'm sure I'll see you around sometime," he said with a wink. "It was very nice to meet you, Maxwell. Likewise, it was very good to meet you, Killen. I'm sure I'll see you around." When Killen had left, Maxwell stared down at the magnificent necklace in his hand. It was the coolest, most macho necklace he'd ever beheld. He couldn't believe that Killen had been willing to part with such a rare treasure, because had it belonged to him, wild horses would not have persuaded him to give it up. He couldn't believe he had acquired this necklace by exchanging it for a carrot cake and 2 vouchers, and in his opinion it was a steal, as the gemstone on the necklace was unlike anything he'd ever seen before, and as for the eagle's feather, it was about as close to perfect as you could get. Maxwell studied the necklace curiously for a moment, reflecting about what Killen had told him about it. He said he had found it on a camping trip in the Pacific Northwest, where he'd stayed at a private camping ground called Misty Hills. He and his friend Robin, during a casual stroll through the woods, had found the necklace lying on the ground. At first, Killen had been reluctant to take the necklace, as it obviously had belonged to someone at some point in time, and the knot at the back of the leather thong must have come loose, and the necklace fallen to the ground, without the wearer even being aware of it. Robin had told Killen that he should keep it, as whoever had dropped the necklace would likely never recover it. It was by chance that they had stumbled on it in the first place, and Maxwell could completely understand why Killen had decided to keep it. It certainly was the coolest necklace he'd ever seen. Yes, he did feel sorry for the person who had initially lost the necklace, but he didn't regret for a single second that it was now in his possession. After all, don't they often say that finders are keepers, especially when you find an item in a place where there is almost a 0 chance of the original owner ever recovering it. "How has business been? I'm so sorry I've been so long," said his mother, coming back to the stand carrying a large bag in her hand. "It was just so difficult to choose exactly which prince I wanted. They were all so very good." "It's been good," said Maxwell. "Business, I mean. You'll be glad to know most of the cakes have been sold. We've got 3 left and 2 packets of fudge, and then we're good to go. It's been a relatively easy day's work, for sure." "Well, I'm glad to hear that," said Michelle Capelli, who was looking quite pleased with herself. "What do you think, Maxwell? I really would value your opinion," she said, pulling out 2 black and white framed prints from her bag. The pictures were absolutely stunning, and depicted scenes done in black and white of 18th century Paris, where you could see the cobbled streets, horse-drawn chariots, and fashionable people, dressed in their 1800s regalia, walking down the streets. The photographs looked so real, you could almost imagine yourself in that time. "They're lovely," said Maxwell approvingly. "They'll look great in the entrance hall, Mum." "Well, I'm so glad you like them, Maxwell, but then again you've always had great taste. I'm also pleased I got them, because I'm quite sure, had I stayed here at the cake stand with you, these prints would have already been sold. They're selling like hotcakes, let me tell you. The man who runs the stand is a newcomer, and people probably are concerned that he might not return again to the farmer's market. And then they'd have missed out on acquiring one of these prints. He was telling me he's not sure whether he will continue having a stand here. So that's why I'm very glad I brought these from him." All of a sudden, Michelle Capelli noticed the necklace her son was wearing around his neck, because it had caught the light so magnificently, so that the gold glitter and the turquoise stone sparkled. "Goodness gracious me," she said, looking a little stunned. "Where on earth did you get that stunning necklace from, Maxwell? I've never seen you wear that before. That's new." She moved forward to examine the stone around her son's neck. "This is quite magnificent. I've never seen a gemstone like this. turquoise with gold glitter inside it. I do love the way it catches the light. You've got to ask Mr. Falconer what it is when you see him. Now there's a man who knows his gemstones. Where did you get it? It looks incredibly good on you." "It's a long story, Mum. A young man called Killen, who's probably 2 years older than I am at a guess, told me his mother is crazy about your carrot cake. She said it's the best she's ever tasted." "Oh, that's very good to hear," said Michelle Capelli, looking extremely pleased. "Well, it is an exceptional recipe. It's a very moist carrot cake." Well, anyway, it turns out that Killen wanted to get the cake for his mother's birthday. And lo and behold, as he reached into his back pocket, his wallet was gone. "Gone?" asked Mrs. Capelli. "What do you mean by gone, Maxwell? Are you saying he left his wallet at home? I suppose that's an easy mistake to make. It can happen to the best of us." "Well, that's not exactly what happened to his wallet, Mum. I'm afraid you know the signs around the farmer's market, warning people to look out for potential pickpocketers." "Oh, yes, what about them? Nasty business, isn't it? There's definitely pickpocketing happening around here. I know a couple of people who've been victims of it, you know." "Oh, my goodness, is that what you're saying? Is that what happened to Killen? His wallet was stolen?" "I'm afraid so, Mum. A young woman distracted him by telling him about a stand at the farmer's market that she clearly didn't own. The next thing he knows, someone bumps into him from behind, and it must have been that opportune moment that his wallet was very sneakily snatched from his back pocket. What an unfortunate thing to happen to the young man. I hope for his sake he wasn't carrying around too much cash on his person, let alone any credit cards that need to be cancelled. There's nothing more inconvenient as far as I'm concerned than having to call up a bank to cancel your cards." "Well, luckily, Killen didn't have much money in his wallet, and he never mentioned a credit card to me, so I think I can safely assume he wasn't carrying one. I guess his wallet was stolen, probably because he looked like he had lots of money on him. He was wearing those seriously expensive sneakers, the ones that the wealthy people buy. And let's just say, he was wearing trendy clothes as well. So I think, from a pickpocketer's perspective, I'm quite sure they thought he was carrying around a stash of cash. I have to tell you, on first impressions, he looked like your typical rich kid, but it turns out his uncle buys him all this trendy stuff that costs an absolute fortune, I believe." "Good Lord," said Mrs. Capelli, frowning. "I ask you, what on earth is this world coming to? In my day, I can assure you, I never heard of people pickpocketing, except in busy parts of the world, like London and New York, perhaps. But in a very laid-back farmer's market, you certainly wouldn't expect this to happen." "Well, maybe that's why that pickpocketing pair are targeting people here, because no one expects it to be happening. So people are not nervously looking over their shoulders every 2 seconds. They're not paying attention, so they're sitting ducks for criminals like this." "You make an excellent point, Maxwell. I hadn't thought of it like that, really. People at the farmer's market are going to have to seriously watch their belongings, their wallets and purses and everything else besides. It's ridiculous it's come to this, but we need to be careful. Sorry, you were telling me how you acquired this very unusual necklace of yours. I take it it's got something to do with this Killen that you met." "Well, Killen was wearing the necklace, wasn't he? I took one look at it, Mum, and I'm not the kind of person that usually wants things other people have. But I was so drawn to the necklace. It's the coolest piece of jewellery I've ever seen. It's like something an Indian warrior would wear. That's why I like it so much. Don't you remember, Mum, when I was a kid, I loved playing cowboys and Indians all the time, and I always wanted to be the Indian warrior." "Oh, I haven't forgotten that. You always wanted to be the Indian warrior. We used to buy you Indian headdresses and costumes all the time. One question I'd like to know, though, is why would Killen part with such a unique piece of jewellery like this?" "Well, that's a very good question, Mum, and I'm as flummoxed as you are that he was so willing to part with it. He didn't have any money to buy the carrot cake, as his wallet had been snatched, so I just asked him if he fancied bartering. I told him he could have the carrot cake and 2 vouchers for the necklace, and he seemed to think it was a great deal. Actually, to be fair, at first he was rather reluctant to part with his necklace, And actually I genuinely thought he would refuse me. He was locked in thought for a moment, as if weighing up the options for himself, and he suddenly took me quite by surprise when he said it was a good deal, and that he'd accept my offer. He said he'd never bartered before a day in his life, so this was the first time for him. He said many people had actually asked him if they could buy the necklace from him, as people tend to be rather bedazzled by it. I was so chuffed, Mum, that he agreed to give me the necklace. When he agreed to the deal, I was almost in a stunned stupor, I have to say. I felt sure I had misheard him. Well, you're a very good negotiator, aren't you, Maxwell? You know how to make a deal, and to think outside the box. I'm very impressed with your ingenious approach. Well done. I just feel terribly sorry for this Killen, having to part with such a fine-looking necklace like this. It really is one of a kind. I wonder where he bought it, because I imagine that shop selling those necklaces is exceedingly popular with men. Most men would love a necklace like the one you're wearing, even if they're not inclined to wear jewellery. It looks so good on you, Maxwell, it really does. That's the thing, Mum. Killen didn't exactly buy it from anyone. He found it in the woods on a camping trip, quite by accident, really. It was lying on the ground, and he knew whoever had dropped it would likely never find it again, so he decided to keep it. He was casually walking in the woods with a friend of his called Robin. At first he had doubts about taking the necklace, as he was convicted with a bit of a guilty conscience, you could say. But he was so drawn to it, and Robin encouraged him to take it, as he said the original owner would never ever find it. Well, in those circumstances he's probably absolutely right, said Mrs. Capelli. If he'd left the woods, it would likely have never been found, the necklace, I mean. He might as well have kept it for himself and enjoyed the benefits of wearing a beautiful piece like that. Maybe it came into his possession because it was just meant to be. But it's mine now, Mum. Well, maybe it was meant to be yours, said Michelle Capelli. I mean, you were saying other people have asked this young man if they could buy his necklace, and he refused them point blank. But he didn't refuse you. I hadn't thought of it like that, Mum, said Maxwell, looking extremely pleased. Maybe it's meant to be mine after all. It was not long before 2 customers brought the final 3 cakes, and a young girl purchased the last remaining bags of fudge. And then both Michelle and Maxwell were ready to pack up the tables and the baskets they had brought along with them, and make their merry way back home, in an SUV that was now significantly lighter after the morning. They left the market an hour earlier than they had anticipated. It was as Michelle Capelli's car took a left-hand turn in the road and rolled down the familiar street of the prepossessing neighbourhood where they resided, that they noticed a man walking his black and white Dalmatian down the street. It was no other than Mr. Falconer, the man Michelle Capelli had been talking about only moments before. Mr. Falconer was at a rough guess a man in his early 60s, who knew everything there was to know about gemstones. He did have the finest collection of gemstones that Michelle Capelli had ever laid eyes on. Her car drew to a swift stop. "Talk of the devil!" she chuckled, looking at her son with bright, eager eyes. "I was only talking about Mr. Falconer earlier, wasn't I? And as luck would have it, we've run into him. Now is your chance, Maxwell. Do what you need to do." For a moment Maxwell looked a little baffled, as if he couldn't quite understand what his mother was trying to say. "What are you talking about, Mum? Why do I need to speak to Mr. Falconer? You've completely lost me on this one." "Oh, goodness gracious me, have you already forgotten what we were talking about, Maxwell, only a moment ago at the farmer's market? I was actively encouraging you to speak to Mr. Falconer about the necklace you're wearing. Don't you want to know what kind of gemstone is on it?" "Oh, of course," said Maxwell, clutching the leather thong of his necklace and glancing down at the shimmering stone. "I'd really like to know what it is." At that, Maxwell quickly climbed out of the passenger side door of his car and sashayed towards Mr. Falconer, with a bright, warm smile on his face. Mr. Falconer looked rather bemused that the Capelli car had just suddenly stopped in the road like that, and Maxwell was sashaying towards him. His Dalmatian cutie pie was sniffing some grass on the pavement that seemed to have attracted his interest. "Hello, Mr. Falconer. It's a lovely day, isn't it? How is Cutie Pie over there?" "It's an excellent day. Fabulous weather," admitted Mr. Falconer. "I always appreciate a long walk around the neighbourhood when the weather is this good. You can see Cutie Pie, if you're asking after him, is fully absorbed with the scent that she's picked up. And sometimes I have to drag her away from the smells she encounters, because she seems to refuse to want to leave them. And right now it's one of those occasions. She's probably picked up on a scent trail from one of the neighbourhood dogs." "Well, I can see she's fully absorbed," chuckled Maxwell. "I guess dogs will be dogs." "Yes, you're right about that one, Maxwell. Is everything all right?" asked Mr. Falconer, noticing that Mrs. Capelli was waving a hand at him, as if to say hello. So Mr. Falconer waved back at her. "Everything's fine," said Maxwell. "Mum has just stopped her car in the middle of the road because we were talking about you a little while earlier at the farmer's market, and then, as luck would have it, we drove down the street, and there you were." "You were talking about me?" asked Mr. Falconer, rubbing a hand gingerly across his moustache. "That's a turn-up for the books," he joked, with a twinkle in his brown eyes. "Not many people talk about me these days. But let me tell you, Maxwell, when I was your age, the girls would talk about me a whole lot. I was quite good-looking back in the day, would you believe it? Even though it might be hard to understand now. So tell me, why were you talking about me?" "Well, Mum was telling me she's seen your sizable collection of gemstones. She says you know everything there is to know about them." "Well, she's not wrong about that," said Mr. Falconer, looking pleased. "I do happen to love gemstones very much, and what I don't know about them is frankly not worth knowing." "That's why we were talking about you, Mr. Falconer, because we wanted you to know if you could tell us what stone this is," said Maxwell, removing the unusual necklace with the eagle's feather and the turquoise stone off his neck, and handing it over to Mr. Falconer to inspect, who on seeing the stone eyed it rather greedily, like a magpie might eye something that glittered in the sun, with eager eyes. Mr. Falconer's thick fingers, covered in age spots, examined the stone very curiously. "This thing of yours is astonishingly beautiful. Actually, it's quite magnificent. Where did you get it from?" "If the truth be told, I have never seen anything like this before a day in my life." Maxwell shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly. He could see Mr. Falconer was growing red in the face with excitement. His fingers seemed to be shaking as he stared at the stone longingly. So appreciative was he of the stone that Maxwell was secretly beginning to regret showing it to him in the first place. But Maxwell knew that there was no way on God's green earth that he would part with this stone. This necklace was his now, and come hell or high water, he was not going to part with it. "It's a long story, Mr. Falconer. I was at the farmer's market, and a young man didn't have any money to buy my mother's carrot cake, because unfortunately he got pickpocketed there, so his wallet was taken. I decided to do a deal with him. I swapped his necklace for my mother's carrot cake and 2 vouchers. I thought the man would refuse me, but I believe in asking on the off chance that he might agree to a little bartering, and believe it or not, he did. I really like this piece, and I've never been into jewellery much, but this is very different. My mother says the stone is absolutely striking. She's never seen anything like it. She thought that you, of all people, might perhaps know what it is. I can't believe this young man gave you his necklace. You bumped into him at the farmer's market, you say, and he was willing to exchange this with you for a carrot cake and a couple of vouchers. Forgive me for saying this, son. I don't mean to be rude, as I know your mother's a marvellous cook, but a stone like this is one of a kind. Did you happen to ask the young man how he came to acquire such an unusual, unorthodox piece of jewellery? It's very macho, isn't it? There's nothing remotely feminine about this piece. I can see why you want to wear it so much. Everybody's going to be admiring it." "As it happens, I did ask him, Mr. Falconer, where he got it. He said he was on a camping trip, staying at a camping ground in the Pacific Northwest, known as Misty Hills. I believe it's a private camping ground, and the people who camp there pay a yearly membership fee. He went for a walk in the woods, a casual stroll with his friend Robin, and quite by chance he stumbled across the necklace on the ground. I believe the leather knot at the back had come loose, so whoever was wearing it must have dropped it. The young man, who's probably only a couple of years older than I am, was reluctant to take the necklace because it didn't belong to him. But his friend Robin encouraged him to do so, claiming that whoever the necklace belonged to probably would never find it, so he might as well keep it for himself, rather than leave a piece of jewelry like this, forsaken in the wilderness, to probably end up being buried by the burgeoning vegetation. Oh, I agree wholeheartedly with this Robin fellow, said Mr. Falconer approvingly. Certainly if I was to stumble by random chance on a piece of jewelry like this on a casual stroll through the woods, I'd definitely keep it for myself. I mean, it's not as if you can hand it over to the local police station or anything. I remember when me and the wife were walking on the beach one day. She found washed up on the shore a very pretty ring buried beneath the sand. It wasn't valuable or anything. It was a vintage piece. Very old, you could see that. She still wears it today. Things like that will never be recovered by the original owner, so you might as well keep them. So there we are. That is the end of part 2 of our story. Part 3 is tomorrow night, and I look forward to you joining me then. Until next time, goodbye and good night.